Well, I guess nobody had this one on their bingo card.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The Commanders just pulled off a huge upset against the Lions, 45-31.
And this was the top seed in the NFC we're talking about here. 15 wins in the regular season.
A 15-win season.
Yeah.
Nobody expected this, especially not with a rookie quarterback leading the charge.
And yet here we are. Jayden Daniels completely stole the show. One of the most exciting playoff performances I've seen in a while.
Absolutely. He didn't just play well, he took control of the game.
Exactly. Extending plays, making those throws while on the run, reading the Lions defense like a seasoned pro. Like, how about that play in the second quarter when the Lions blitzed everybody?
Oh, you mean when he picked up on the blitz pre-snap, changed the protection, and just like that, hit McLaurin for a touchdown.
Textbook. That's what it was. He was completely unfazed by the pressure, the crowd, the moment, that aggressive Lions D.
Right, like total composure.
Yeah.
Which is more than we can say for Jared Goff on the other side. 4 interceptions in the first half, including a pick six. You just can't have that in a playoff game.
You just can't. I mean, Goff looked rattled right from the start.
And got to give credit to Dan Quinn and that Commanders defensive scheme. They really disrupted Goff's flow.
They stacked the box early, basically dared Goff to beat them with his arm.
ML, he couldn't deliver.
No, he couldn't. Quinn knew exactly what he was doing. Take away the run game with Gibbs, force Goff into throws he doesn't want to make.
And even when he had time, his accuracy was just off.
Several open receivers, some really questionable decisions, like forcing that throw into double coverage.
The one that ended up in Quan Martin's hands for the pick six.
Oh yeah, that was a game changer right there. 21-7 Commanders. Momentum completely shifted.
And we can't forget Dorance Armstrong stripping the ball from Goff back in the first quarter.
That set the tone for the Commanders' defense. Relentless. Made Goff pay for his mistakes.
Give up some yards, sure, but they made the big plays when it counted.
Forced those turnovers, capitalized on opportunities, disciplined and intense, which is something I can't say for the Lions.
Especially their defense. They looked completely different from that unit that dominated the regular season.
Injuries definitely played a part. Emmett Robertson breaking his arm early didn't help.
Absolutely a big blow.
But it wasn't just the injuries. There were schematic issues, too. Couldn't generate pressure without blitzing.
And when they did blitz, Daniels just picked them apart.
A rookie QB on fire, depleted secondary, and a game plan that just couldn't adapt. A recipe for disaster for the Lions.
Tough break for the fans. After a 15-win season, home field advantage, it all looks so promising.
You're telling me.
And then to go out like this, in the divisional round, at home, it's got to sting.
Yeah, but they still gave up a lot of yards. Even with the turnovers, what if Detroit hadn't made those mistakes? The Commanders' defense might have been exposed. Detroit really needed their defense to step up, and they just couldn't do it.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analysis. I mean, you have to admit, that was a remarkable defensive performance by Washington, especially against an offense like Detroit's.
Absolutely. This was the #1 offense in the league coming into the playoffs. Holding them to 31 points is huge.
It really shows Dan Quinn's coaching genius
Yeah.
and the preparation of this Commanders defense.
They had their plan, and they executed it perfectly. Knew the Lions' tendencies, exploited their weaknesses.
Made life miserable for Goff and that offense.
Couldn't agree more.
But it's not just about the scheme, it's about the players stepping up and making big plays.
Exactly.
Dorance Armstrong, Quan Martin, that whole defensive line.
They were phenomenal.
They played with an intensity we didn't see consistently in the regular season.
They definitely elevated their game for the playoffs.
No doubt about that.
Not a doubt in my mind. This was a statement win for the Commanders. They've been under the radar all season.
And now, just like that, they're one game away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it really speaks volumes about the new ownership, the coaching staff, and of course the rise of Jayden Daniels. They've completely changed the culture in Washington.
Completely. And we can't forget about Dan Quinn's impact.
Absolutely. His play calling was aggressive, especially on those fourth downs, kept the Lions guessing all game.
It's that 4th and goal in the second quarter, going for it. And then Robinson punches it in for the touchdown.
Bold move, paid off big time.
It was a turning point. You could see the energy shift on the sideline after that score. Quinn had complete faith in his offense, and the team felt it.
Quinn has instilled a winning mentality in this team. They play with confidence, aggression, and most importantly, for each other.
And they're not afraid to take risks. That's something you don't see too often in the NFL.
It's refreshing, and it's working. The Commanders are playing their best football when it matters most, and they are a real threat to win it all.
Meanwhile, the Lions are left wondering what could have been after such a dominant regular season.
Devastating for a team that seemed destined for greatness. But, it's a young team.
They'll bounce back.
They'll learn from this. They have a lot of talent. They'll be back in the mix next year.
But they need to figure out that defense. defense find a way to perform better under pressure.
You're right. Their inability to adapt to Washington's game plan was concerning. They looked unprepared for that physicality, that aggression.
And Goff's playoff struggles continue. He's now 0-3 in the postseason.
That inability to step up when it matters the most, it's a red flag.
He needs to show he can be the quarterback who led them to 15 wins, not the one who folded against Washington.
Exactly. That's the Goff they need.
But look, this game was a roller coaster. But one thing's for sure, Jayden Daniels has arrived.
Oh, he's the real deal. The talent, the poise, the leadership, he's got it all.
Superstar in the making, and with Dan Quinn coaching him.
The future's bright for Washington.
They prove they belong, and they're not satisfied.
They've got that hunger. This wasn't just an upset. This was a changing of the guard. The Commanders are here to stay.
And the rest of the NFC better watch out. I mean, this game really showed you what playoff football is all about, right?
You said it. Unpredictable, high stakes, and sometimes heroes come from the most unexpected places.
We saw it all here. A rookie quarterback exceeding all expectations. A veteran who just couldn't handle the pressure. Dan Quinn's defensive genius on full display.
And a Lions team that just couldn't match the intensity.
The Commanders were the underdogs, but they played with this belief, this confidence, like they were meant to be there.
You could tell they weren't intimidated, not one bit.
They embraced the challenge, and they rose to the occasion.
That's the Dan Quinn effect right there. He's built a culture of unity, purpose.
A relentless pursuit of excellence. And that's what separates the contenders from the pretenders.
Couldn't agree more. It's not just talent, it's about heart. It's about resilience. And it's about execution when the lights are brightest.
The Commanders have all of that, and they've shown they can compete with the best.
Without a doubt.
But, while the Commanders are celebrating, the Lions have a lot to think about. They had a great season, but it ended way too soon.
Definitely a tough pill to swallow. But they need to figure out that defense.
Get more out of Goff.
And find that killer instinct that was missing.
They've got the talent, but talent alone doesn't win championships.
Right. You need that winning mentality, that belief that you can overcome anything.
And that starts with leadership.
The veterans, Goff, Ragnow, Walker, they gotta step up. They need to set the tone. Demand more from themselves, from their teammates.
This loss, it's a lesson. It shows how small the margin for error is in the playoff. Every single detail matters.
They need to use this as fuel, come back stronger, more determined.
With a chip on their shoulder.
And that's the only way to bounce back.
The Commanders, on the other hand, they're riding high into the NFC Championship game.
Defied the odds, silenced the doubters.
Proved they belong with the elite.
And with Daniels at the helm, the future is looking pretty bright.
They've got the whole city behind them, and they're not done yet. Not even close.
This game, it was a reminder of what makes the playoffs so special. It's a crucible, a test of character, skill, and will.
And the teams that can handle the pressure, adapt, and make the plays when it counts, those are the teams that survive. And the Commanders, they've shown they have what it takes. And as they prepare for their next challenge, one thing's for sure, they're not going anywhere.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into this incredible divisional round matchup. Until next time, keep those helmets strapped on and those pigskins flying.